My name is Arya Farahi, and I am a PhD student in physics. In real life, I'm doing astronomy and cosmology, but here in the University of Michigan, I'm also running a student. I'm one of the student lead who are running the student organization, which is Michigan Data Science Team. And today I'm going to talk about this student organization, what we are doing, and what are our mission and goals. So before starting to talk about the organization, first I wanted to talk a little bit about our education system. So in the past few years, data science and machine learning became very popular among the students. Now there are many students who are trying to take these courses and get some a familiarity with data science and machine learning techniques. But the universities usually doesn't have enough capacity and resources to teach these skills to the students. And usually this traditional classroom is not scalable. So we cannot fit 500 students in one single classroom. And probably we need to hold classroom in the football stadiums. But if I wanted to look at just the University of Michigan, so more than 400 students are registered in the machine learning courses, which are offered by the computer science department only. And these courses are just covering the foundation of machine learning, and a student don't get a chance to apply this technique to real world problems. And students are learning about the theoretical foundation of machine learning and statistics, but there is a lack of knowledge, but usually these techniques are not directly applicable to the real world problems. So there's a huge gap between what is taught in the classrooms and the real world problems. So probably we need to think a little harder and come up with the new ways of teaching these skills to students. And our student organization is providing platform to fill this gap and trying to contribute to our education system. But what is MDST, or Michigan Data Science Team? MDST is an outreach student organization which teaches practical data science skills by solving impactful problems via a service learning approach. So I highlighted 3 words here: teaching, solving, and service learning, which is probably summarizing our goal and mission in MDST. So let me talk a little bit about the service learning. Service learning, according to the Wikipedia, is not a very new approach. It is service learning is a few decades old educational practice which combines learning objective with the community service. If I wanted to put it into the simple words, the idea is that to use project as a vehicle to teach new skills to the students. And usually these projects are identified by the community, and we are trying to solve one of the communities and teaching new skills to the students. So why service learning? As I said, this is not a new approach. Usually, if you go to the Department of Education or Social Science, you can see that people are applying this technique in their classroom or outside of the classroom to teach something new to the students. And people have studied these service learning approaches, and they found there is a huge body of a literature that's shown that integrating service learning into higher education, enhancing a student's performance, and has positive impact on social and cognitive outcome of students. And it also has a positive impact on the community, because usually these problems are identified by the community and we are trying to solve them. And it is also providing a new opportunity and educational tool for our education system. And if these projects are successful, it is building a good collaboration between the communities and universities. And this is one of the missions of the universities in a broad sense, trying to reach out to the community and helping our local or global community. So, but now let me to give you a little bit of background of MDST. So MDST is a student organization at the University of Michigan. It is founded 3 years ago in 2015. And we started with 20 students, but because our projects were very exciting, many people joined us, and now we have more than 300 students in our organization, and more than 50 students are actively working on a project at this time. And we are sponsored mostly by Michigan Institute for Data Science, as one of their mission is enhancing students' data science education around the campus. And we are trying to enhance the education system in our campus. So if I look at the roster of our students, we have very diverse body of students. Our students are coming from all different backgrounds and disciplines and experts. They have a very different expertise. We have a student who are just joined the university, and we have a handful of postdoctoral scholars and faculties who are working with us on different projects. And if I wanted to look at the department or college they are coming from, we have at least one student from every single department on the campus. So we are a very diverse body of students. Our initiatives are, we have 3 main initiatives. One of them is a tutorial series, data science competition, and the project series. In the tutorial series, we are trying to teach simple machine learning and data science concept and some coding skills to the students. And we are trying to bridge the gap between analytic and practice for a student who are not exposed to the data science and machine learning before. And we are trying to train students to become ready to start working on the projects. And we also hold a competition. Every a semester, we are holding at least 1 or 2 competition. And data science competitions are actually very effective way of engaging a large interdisciplinary group like us. Typically, these competitions are designed around a social problem, and then we are turning this social problem and competition into the project. So we are starting every project basically with a competition. We are identifying people who are very excited about this project, and we are trying to make a focus group of people and turn it into the project. And in our project series is basically an implementation of data science service learning approach that I did talked about. So how our project series is working. Usually we are reaching out to the community partner, or a community partner is reaching to us and asking, we have these problems in our community, how we can solve them. So we are asking for some data, whether do you have any data or not. If they have some data, we start to talk with them and trying to break down the project to small pieces. And we are trying to formulate this project in terms of a prediction or classification or a visualization project. Once we simplified this project into prediction or classification or visualization, we start to form a team. We identify the project leader, and then we start to collaborate with our community partner to address their goals and trying to solve their problem. And this is a very good opportunity for our students because there is a data set, there is a problem, now they can apply their skills and trying to solve them. And we invite all of these project teams to come to our meeting and talk about their project, what is the data set that they are working, what is the problem that they are trying to address, and teaching something new to our MDST community. And at the end, once the project is finished, we are trying to deliver this result in terms of some visualization toolkit, some codes, or sometimes some write-up or documents to our community partner, and hopefully we solve some of their problems. For our partners, usually we are working with the local government and nonprofit organizations because we found that working on problems which are has a social impact, it is very easy to understand it, and it is very rewarding for our students. Usually working with the research labs is hard because they are a very long-term project, and the students don't want to work on a very long-term project. It is not very exciting for them. So most of our project is going on with our local government. So we are working with the city of Flint, city of Detroit. In some small project, we are working with nonprofit organization. And we have a very small project which we are working with some research lab, but the majority of our time was spent in our this kind of projects. And weekly, we have a weekly project meetings. In our weekly project meeting, we invite people who are working on the project to come to our meeting, talk about their progress and teaching something new to our student. At the same time, they are trying to, we are trying to give them some feedbacks. Our faculty advisor come to our meeting, and we are trying to make sense of this data together. So it is kind of like a hackathon for us and very relaxed environment to talk about the project. And sometimes we are inviting speakers from all over the campus to talk about their project. And it gives us some a broader idea of what is the data science, what is the machine learning, and how people are applying it in different areas. But running a successful project without infrastructure is kind of impossible. We talked about the computational resources, and we found that if we are working with the big data, usually students cannot run the For example, if they wanted to build a deep learning algorithm, they cannot run it on their laptop or their computer. So we are very fortunate that we have access to some of computational resources on our campus. We have access to 1,000 CPUs and 2 GPUs, and we are using these resources for our project. And we found that the students want to get credit for the work that they are doing. So we usually identifying conferences and workshops and trying to prepare and train students to go there. And we have a lots of travel funding thanks to Midas to send a student to different data science and machine learning events which are happening around us and nationally and internationally. And we cannot cover every single thing in terms of coding and modeling. So we have access to the data camp, and a student can go there and use their resources to teach themselves about a coding skill, some foundation of machine learning, and some foundation of data science. And it is a very good way of picking up some new skills and basic skills that a student need to pick up before start to working on the project. So our accomplishment shows how successful we have been in the past 2 years. We have been in lots of different conferences. We talked about our project, and we presented lots of posters, and we sent people to the different hackathons, and our project have got attention in local and national outlets. So if I wanted to highlight one of our project, probably I would highlight our collaboration with the city of Flint during the Flint water crisis. During the Flint water crisis, the city officials reached to us and said that we have this data set, and because we started to work with the city officials and help them during the recovery effort. And we were building a visualization tool for them. We were building a prediction model for them, and we were trying to make sense of their data, understand their data, and trying to build both prediction model, classification model, and visualization. And we were trying to help them in their recovery effort, during the recovery effort. So if I wanted to summarize our impact, probably I would share this plot with you. So Governor Schneider have posted this plot in early 2016. He was showing that during the recovery effort, the number of safe houses was increasing. And we were trying to replicate this plot with the data that we had. But our data was very, very biased. So we tried to correct for this selection bias in our sample, and we observed that actually we see an inverse trend. We saw that the number of dangerous houses was increasing as the time was going on. So it was meaning that the recovery effort, the effort that they was doing inside the city was not very effective probably. So, and at that point we get back to them and try to come up with a different suggestion. So so here there are lots of challenges. If another student organization wanted to replicate our effort, probably the most important challenge is identifying an appropriate project. So I think that the project should be simple enough and easy to understand and easy to formulate. If we can formulate a project into a 4 or 5 month project, and we can formulate it in terms of a prediction project or a classification project, then it would be a very good problem. And usually identifying a committed project leader is a good idea, because we found that if the project leader is not very committed, usually this project is not a very successful project. And working on a research project or a project with a social impact, we found that a project with the social impact can excite people more, and usually it is more rewarding for the students. So the students are usually excited to work on a problem with a social impact rather than working on a research problem. And the second challenge is recruiting students. If we want students to trust us, I think building a community is very important. And usually enhancing the diversity is helping us, because people are coming with a very different background. They are talking with each other, and always they can learn something new. And people found it very interesting and exciting, I think. And the other thing I think is visibility. A student wanted to get a credit for the work that they are doing. So we are really committed to encourage and train students to prepare their project for presentation and publish their project in different venues and different conferences. So we are training people, we are identifying different venues and different conferences, and we are helping a student to publish this, their work, or submitting their work and go to these conferences and presenting their project. And having the funding is always helpful. All right, so I wanted to thank the organizers, especially Melissa and Alice, for organizing this community call, and I'm very excited to learn from other organizations on their thoughts, ideas, and feedbacks. And we are always looking for partners. So if you wanted to work on any project with us, we are happy to talk to you and share our experience. So I am happy to take any question that you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Arya. That was fantastic. And folks, the lines are open. Feel free to either type in the chat box or unmute yourself, and we're happy to have you ask questions, either to Arya on the data science team, on his team, and some of their practices there. And then toward the end of the call, if there are questions about the hub, happy to answer those afterwards. So any questions for Arya? So I have one. I'll kick it off. So I have one. So I think it's fantastic that your group was able to work with the city of Flint. I'm curious if you could tell us just a little bit more about how that process might have worked. So, how is it that your data science team actually got connected to people in the city government in Flint?
Yes, so I think it came to us through one of our faculty advisors, the city officials, because they didn't have enough resources to address their data. They reached us to some faculty at the University of Michigan, and those faculty came to our faculty advisor and said that we have this data set and they are looking for some help. Can you help them? We said that, okay, we are a student organization. We are very excited to help our community. And this is how we are introduced to city officials. Then we did go to the city and visited the city officials. We started to talk with them and we started to collaborate with them. Yes, so first it came through one of our faculty and they reached to the university. So we didn't reach out to them.
Right. So that's great. So I sort of, in listening to you, there's this sort of iterative process, I think, that is potentially a good model, and that is, bringing in speakers, faculty to talk about projects. That also gives the student group access to faculty they might not interact with in coursework. So that the opportunity to engage in new kinds of projects is a circular kind of thing, and so that's fantastic. I just think it's so great. The data science team is having that kind of impact socially in the state. That's great. Other questions for Arya? All right, so I'll ask one more. Different schools have different funding models for the student groups, and if a student group is applying to campus for funds, and I think I'm asking Arya because you've got experience with a number of activities and opportunities, including having access to compute through IT. But we're also starting to engage some much smaller kinds of institutions in the Midwest. Sometimes it's two-year colleges, sometimes it's small teaching colleges that are teaching data science. And so if a data science group starts and they had to prioritize to get funding for a student group, and they had to prioritize, if you were starting over, even on your campus, where would you start with respect to what do you think students need funding for first in developing a student-led data science group?
Probably computation is not a priority because there are lots of projects out there which are not a big data. And if it is not a big data, usually people can run the models and making visualization through their computers. So I think like a big data camp is a very nice educational platform, but it is not, I think it is not free. We are not paying for, I think we are not paying for that because we are part of like a student organization, and they, for a student organization, they give it for free, I think. But usually having some resources for teaching a student about like a coding skills or like a foundation is a good thing, because we cannot cover every single thing in our meeting or through our tutorial series. And like not all of the classes can cover like visualization, building model and statistical thing, and covering Python, R, and everything. And some of our students wanted to work with R, some of our students want to work with Python, if they are coming from a very different background. So if we found it very hard to teach every single like a coding scheme in our like meetings. But we are always open to work with all sorts of people. So we don't want to limit ourselves to just working with Python, or we don't want to limit ourselves to working with R, because people who are coming from statistics are usually working with R, or people who are coming from business are usually working with R, but I'm in physics, so I'm working with Python. So there are like differences like this. And I found that working with the data camp is easy because they are always teaching like a modeling, working with R, working with Python, working with C. So we don't have to go through into that loop and trying to cover everything. And we are trying to use external resources to teach our students about like a coding skills. So probably like training our student and mentoring our student is the most important part. But I don't think that part needs tons of money. And if I have like money to spend on one thing, and probably I would spend money to send people around the United States to talk about their project.
Great, very helpful advice. Thank you. And I'm assuming you can see the comment from Kimberly there to you about, so big thank you from Kimberly. Okay, so last chance, any other questions from the audience? Okay, any questions for us here at the Hub? All right, so yes, I agree, and yeah, Arya, thank you so much for taking the time to put such a comprehensive presentation together.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us this time.
My pleasure. And so we will we'll be running another webinar again next month. We might shift the time. We actually, I will just mention too, we'll be sending out from the Midwest Big Data Hub a survey about our services. And so we will make sure that we include all the student groups as well in that survey to make sure that we're engaging in the ways that you all would like us to be engaging with developing new programs as well. So we will do that, but happy to have any participation from data science or big data student groups across the Midwest, and looking forward to getting back together again in a month. So thanks again, and any last thoughts before we part?
I have a quick question. So what is the time expectation as far as the presentation?
Oh, thanks, Bridget. So they can take up a half an hour, or they can go longer than that. So, you know, I think Arya's is a really nice example. It was about a 20 to 25 minute presentation with time for Q&A. So 15 to 20, 25 minutes is perfect. And we're happy to, depending on if we have two speakers, we'll make that work. And if we have only one speaker for the week, then we'll negotiate that process, and we may be able to, you know, on one of those weeks, we'll add in some content or bring in, you know, we'll add in some content from the Hub. So, so great question.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us tonight. We'll send out a note for the date for next month very shortly.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.